TV Guide.
And do we have Coach Pittman?
Well, yeah.
Hey, Coach.
How y'all doing?
Doing well. Hey, I was wondering if you could just generally update us on the reports that you've gotten on players from this past month and also the freshmen that have arrived from your strength staff.
Well, I think they're really pleased with what's going on and how the kids returned. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we're in pretty good shape for where we are right now and at this point in time of the season. And we've got a much bigger football team than we had in middle of the late March.
Are you able to comment on your latest transfer edition?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I just got the okay that yes, I am.
Okay. Can you comment on Jaquaylin Crawford, what he can bring to the table? And I guess he'll be sitting one.
Yeah, very dynamic slot. I mean, a receiver that you go back and watch his tape that he was electric in high school and obviously contacted us. I think we finished second on him whenever 2 years ago or whatever it was. But I like him. He's a great mama and he's got a lot of speed and I think he's going to be a dynamic slot for us. I really do. We're really excited about getting him in here.
Thanks, Coach. Tom?
Hey there, Sam, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just talking, I guess Arkansas's numbers have been going up a little bit and you need to stay positive in terms of wanting to play, but are you having any concerns that the season might not go as scheduled and things might have to be adjusted?
No, not really. I mean, we can only control what we can control in here. And in our SEC head coaches meetings, it's everything's going planned on schedule for September 5. And that's what we're preparing for. Obviously, there's a lot of different scenarios and things of that nature. But as of today and I'm saying in the near future, we're looking forward to starting the season off September 5th.
Kyle did not want us to ask about numbers of positive COVID testers on your team. Has it impacted you in terms of guys to get out and run and do the things that y'all want to do? Has it been an impact?
No, not really. I mean, obviously, if you have a positive, then it going to take whoever's with them or around them for a 10 to 14 day period. So, if you have a positive, then it certainly affects who's able to work out and who's not. But I can say we've been very good here. We've done a nice job with this COVID, and I'm very proud of the way our players have handled it.
Okay, I got more, Kyle, but I'll come back in at the end.
Yep, I got you. Nikki, do you have questions?
Sure, yes. Coach, when you guys start the walkthroughs and whatnot, how do you really determine, depth when you're starting those things? Like, how do you go through? Do you just start with what they were working with last year? How do you go about that?
Our depth chart, obviously we have one now, Nikki, and it'll be a revolving depth chart, I'm sure. There'll be some guys that certainly are there for good, but you have to have a first way to line them up. So we certainly have a depth chart now. A lot of it has to do with last season, maybe the season before. A lot of it have to do with what we saw in the 8-week off-season program as well. So we're going to have a 1, 2, 3. We're going to do some things of 2 spotting, do some things where we can get everybody out there, reps. Obviously, we need to look at the kids, and of course, in a walkthrough, you're not going to be able to determine whether they can go hit and run and tackle and all those things, but you are going to be able to see who's retained the information from these meetings.
You saw the freshmen come in. I know you haven't been able to see them work out, but was there anyone that surprised you with how ready they look? The freshmen specifically?
They all look really, I thought they all came in and looked like they was in pretty good shape. Andy Boykins came in, he looks good. He's a little bit over 300 pounds, and Malik came in, looked good. I think all of them, we always take a picture of them when they come in as freshmen and then when they leave, and certainly what a huge transformation in all of them. But I was pleased with the way they came in. I really like the group. They've got a great attitude. You have to find people that want to be at Arkansas and want to play the game, and I think we did in this group. I'm pleased at how they came back.
Well, hello. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. As we let you hear, and we will throughout today's show, we're going to open up the phone lines. You can reach us at 601-7400, area code 479. If you have any questions that you might want to ask of us today from yesterday's Zoom teleconference that we had with head coach Sam Pittman, senior running back Rakeem Boyd, and junior defensive back Monteric Buster Brown. A lot taking place, Demetrius, and Coach made a statement, and we'll probably let you hear that, but there was a question about if they're going to have a season. Demetrius, I think he answered it about as plain as you can answer it. Now, he doesn't talk about it. They don't talk as if they're not going to be a football season. So for right now, I think it's all systems go. Now, I know the COVID pandemic will continuously be a topic heading into the football season, but looks like we're going to have football now, maybe under some different circumstances. But if I had to put my money, what little bit I had on it, I'm putting on September 5th. We will be at Razorback Stadium in some capacity for a football game.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it'll be 70,000, but I think there will be a limited amount of audience there that'll be able to participate. I don't know how they're going to do with the media and how many people are going to be allowed in the stadium, including staff, including opposing teams,
right.
Including opposing fans. So it's going to be really interesting these next upcoming weeks when they release the details to how they're going to run the actual games. I've
been really impressed, Demetrius, with how this program at Arkansas, how Coach Pittman and that staff have handled this COVID pandemic. I mean, even when the guys, the upperclassmen, were able to come back early in June, several weeks ago, they've just been on top of things with the constant monitoring of these kids, their temperatures. Everything's in place to be successful here at Arkansas. And like I said, you like to tip your hat to the medical staff and just the plan. And it just goes to show you that even throughout, when people thought that he wasn't the right man, Sam Pittman has done nothing but the right things for this program. And I'm telling you, the sky's only going to be the limit under Coach Pittman as long as he's the head hog.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to have some footage of Rakeem Boyd and Buster Brown later on in the show, but Rakeem came out and spoke on how impressed and pleased he was of Sam Pittman and some of the steps he's been taking as the head coach, and not only just talking football, but just even on these racial issues that's been going on,
right.
In the stance that he took going to support the protest, and how important and the impact that it made on the players, just having a coach that reached out to a couple of the leaders and really took the time to address them on a personal level instead of just everything being about sports and football. So I think Sam Pittman has really made a big impact amongst the players, and I think that was a big disconnect from the teams last year. You heard a lot of the senior guys say they didn't really have a relationship with.
That's a good point. That's a real good point.
with Chad, and I think Sam Pittman's done a great job balancing and understanding that he has to have a relationship with these upcoming freshmen, but he also has to have the senior leadership here to steer these guys in the right direction.
Because when you go back to it, Demetrius, I remember the very first press conference on the initial day back in December when Sam was named the head coach. I mean, when we had our own personal calls, he said that he was going to have to go back and recruit the guys that he already had on campus and build relationships with the current football team. They had the privilege of going out and building a relationship, in a short period of time with that 20 class. But what was on campus, I think the job they did, met every single day with multiple groups of individuals in his office, face to face. I believe he's written a handwritten letter to every single young man that's on in the football program. I mean, that's all special. And I agree, Demetrius, that the situation with Black Lives Matter, Sam did that. There was no fanfare, didn't put out any type of statements. He just went down there. And coming from an African-American man, the way I felt, it was genuine. I mean, let's just be honest. We know if it's genuine. We know when you're trying to get things from that. And I just thought that, for it to be not even mentioned, we talked about how important it was for Power 5 and big-time coaches to come out in support of what was going on throughout the United States. And Sam did it in a way that I thought was very humbling. And just like I said, real genuine. And you can kind of tell when, as we go on throughout the show and let you hear from Rakeem Boyd and Buster Brown, you'll see the impact that we said, Demetrius. I told a friend of mine today, it was November 11th. You can go back and watch that show. And for those that are watching, go back and watch that show and hear everything that we said or we thought would take place if Pittman would be the guy. And you make a note if we hadn't checked all the boxes.
Absolutely. I think another thing that I really like about Sam Pittman is he's a lead by example type of guy.
Right.
He always talks about how he really loved to be here at Arkansas and how he just really wanted to put in work. And I think his stance on the Black Lives Matter and the whole racial issues going on in America is epitome of that. He didn't try to take a media standpoint and make some press conference announcement or a Twitter post. He just went out and did the work. And I think when you're a player and you see your head coach do those things, it's one thing for your position coach, but your head coach to go out there and do those things and be about action. As a football player, it motivates you to go want to run through a wall for your coach. It makes you want to get up and be on time. It makes you want to hold yourself accountable. So again, I think Sam Pittman is only gain the trust of his players by doing things such as that, because there's some head coaches around the league right now that's having troubles. I'm not gonna name no names, Mississippi State, but there's a couple of schools down there that's having troubles, recruiting their players and getting them to buy into this off-season workout that's voluntary due to this epidemic. So again, I think Sam Pittman has gained great trust with his team. I think he has their attention. I think not only Sam Pittman but the staff, and he has the respect of his players. And I think again, you're going to see that carry over to the football field.
They've talked about it, Demetrius, as a staff. Football is is a relationship business, and just being around these men for the short period of times or a few times we have had the privilege of being around this new coaching staff that Coach Sam Pittman's put together. You can definitely tell, and I say it again, genuine and just easy people to relate to. They just seem like they're down on the level, and I can only just and talking to the kids, and you guys have heard multiple kids on our show during our Hall Guy segment throughout the weeks and months. You understand that this is going to be a family type of environment at Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, you can see it. Sam talks about it all the time. We're in the relationship business. But we're going to take a real quick break, and then if you have questions or you'd like to chime in, you can call us at 479-601-7400, or you can also reach out to us on our Facebook Live. That's On the Hill Sports Talk, or you can reach us on our YouTube live stream. That's On the Hill Sports Talk LLC. And real quick, before we take a real quick break and let you hear more from our teleconference, Demetrius, what are some other outlets that you can hear OTH and multiple things that we got going on?
Definitely, you can check us out on any podcast streaming platform, that being Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Just search On the Hill Sports Talk and you'll pop up any recent episodes that we have.
And if you'd like to sponsor us here at On the Hill Sports Talk, you can do so by just hitting us up on our email. That's onthehillpatj@gmail.com, or you can also reach out to us via our Facebook live stream on the Hill Sports Talk. Just send us a direct message, or our YouTube live stream. That's Sports Talk LLC, On the Hill Sports Talk LLC, I should say. And also, too, all beats that you hear each and every day on OTH are produced and mastered by Sauced Up Entertainment LLC. Go check them out. I'm telling you, got a lot of good things. If you want to huddle, these guys got some beats. I'm telling you. You hear me? You hear my stove always on fire. I'm always cooking because they always cooking. But yeah, go to their YouTube page. That's Sauced Up Entertainment LLC, and check them out. But here we go. Back to the teleconference. And then, like I said, you can reach out to us. It's on the Hill, and it's our Wednesday edition on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
Between myself and our team about not having a season. So it's not hard to motivate them about not having a season because we all believe we're going to. If it changes, we'll adjust. But we're preparing for September 5, and that's what we believe is going to happen. If it doesn't, we'll just have to figure out what our next step is. But it hadn't been hard because we don't talk about it.
And as far as just when you do get to put the ball down, just how much installation can you do in these, the non-contact practices?
Yeah, I think quite a bit. We're going to use our special teams in those practices as well. So they're going to give you an hour, 6 hours a week. However, you're going to divide up the week. You have one day off, but you're going to get 6 hours a week for walkthroughs. And we're going to use some of that in special teams. So I'm assuming we're going to get, somewhere around 4.5 hours of walkthrough, specifically offense and defense. And we need it. And we'll get that times 2. And hopefully that'll get us ready for when 2 days start the 7th of August.
And finally, are all your grad transfers, will they be on hand at least by the time the practice will start in August?
Yeah, I believe all our grad transfers are here now. Well, they are. Every grad transfer we have has been with us for a little bit.
Thanks. I'll let somebody else take a shot.
Thanks, Nate. Tara/Mike.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned some of the media don't think there's going to be one. There's a lot of fans out there that are saying this, and I'm wondering how you guys deal with it. I mean, it's all over message boards, all this typical social media. There's not going to be a season. There's no way they can play. Fans who love college football just seem to somehow, some of these people have given up. And in the absence of real knowledge, there's a lot of crazy talk out there. I mean, we were dealing with a situation yesterday where a good source was telling us, you guys were sending everybody home today. And obviously that's nonsense, but how do you kind of deal with this whole backdrop with all that going on?
Well, I learned a long time ago, media is very important, but it's also, it can make your team and it can break your team if you pay a lot of attention to it. And so we're going off of facts of what we know. I'm in a head coaches meeting every Thursday morning at 7:30, and I'm going off of facts from the SEC commissioner. And so all speculation, we could speculate for a month, and some of us be right, a lot of us be wrong. I'm just going off the facts of what the SEC commissioner is telling us, and we're going as planned to have a season September 5th. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know how you can possibly prepare a team if you look at it any other way than that.
I don't know if you wanted to ask about the 2 days thing. I thought that was a great question. We were talking about if there were a possibility right now of you guys starting up 2 days at all.
Tara, I'm so old that I just say 2 days, and I mean fall camp, but every time it comes out of my mouth, it comes just 2 days. I've not heard one thing about 2 days or anything of that nature. When I say that, that's a mistake by me. Just fall camp. That's my fault.
Welcome back to our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And we're letting you hear audio from yesterday's teleconference or Zoom teleconference with head football coach Sam Pittman. Upcoming, we'll have audio from our sit-down and Zoom teleconference with senior running back Raheem Boyd and junior defensive back Monteric Buster Brown. They're coming up here momentarily. But Demetrius and I were just having a little fun, and we want you guys to be a part of this. Give us your starting lineup, the depth chart. If you have a media guide or what, if you have anything available, what is your depth chart? I mean, how are we going to shake out? Arkansas returns 14 starters, Demetrius. I think it's tied for, I think it's one of the most seasoned groups, but still yet so young by classification. That's the crazy thing. But what's your depth chart? I think right tackle, I'll see Myron Cunningham. I could see him winning his spot. But realistically, Ricky Stromborg, he kind of say he'll be one of the guards, right or left. But those other spots, I'm telling you. And the tight end, who we're going to get? Dalton Wagner comes to mind. You have Noah Gatling that'll be back.
I think it's free reign. If I just really wanted to be honest, I think when you talk about the offensive line, I think when you have the type of season that you have last year, as far as the sacks given up, the pressure, you have to start this line from scratch. I know you do have guys like Stromberg and who was up for the mention, Myron Cunningham. Yeah, those are guys that do have accolades and do have experience. But I think when you have a head coach and a new offensive line coach like Brad Davis, you have to reassess the whole line,
right?
Because they have to fit the scheme,
right?
And I think with what we were doing last year, those guys were good for what we were doing now.
I think it's gonna be more physical than finesse with this offensive line. I think Coach Pittman, him and Coach Davis, he said it all the time, and we've seen it during his time at Arkansas and when he moved on to Georgia and even Tennessee or wherever Coach Pittman has gone. Big athletic linemen. I mean, they have those dudes up front.
And I think that's what Sam Pittman is going to try to do. I don't think he's just going to go by size alone. He does want technique, but I think when you look at what he's trying to get in mold, he wants a big, stout offensive line. Right. I think again, you hit it on the head, guys that are physical, because we know the type of lineman that Sam Pittman created. When you look at Sebastian,
right?
Who else was a guy? Kirkland.
Kirkland.
You look at those guys that
Frank Ragnow,
the type of bodies and the type of players that they were, you can see
and I think
potential.
One guy that if you look back over, Sam recruited to Arkansas, never had a chance to coach, Brian Wallace.
I thought
Brian Wallace, coming out of the U.S. Army All-American game, I thought Brian would have been set up under Sam Pittman. I thought he lost a lot not being able to get that that experience, because he was a highly recruited guy out of the St. Louis area that just, to me, didn't have the right offensive line coach. I'm not going to say that Brian didn't have the talent. I just don't think he had the right offensive line coach. And I think with Brad Davis and Coach Pittman putting so much emphasis in guys that, let's face it, he's the GOAT. Sam's the GOAT when it comes to offensive line play and development.
Yeah, and I just look at, again, the schemes that he had to adjust to during the transition of the different types of offensive line coaches. I think he had maybe 3 offensive lines in the direction of his career here at Arkansas. Right. So, it's kind of hard to really, I guess you could say, flourish that offensive line, because it's such a cohesion thing. It is a one-man individual stat, but you really don't, your stats don't always match the film due to it being a group effort. And I think offensive line, you have to. It's a unit thing. Right. You do have guys. The left guard, back, your blind side. Yes, those are key components of the offensive line. But I think to be great and to really stand out on the offensive line, you have to do it as a unit.
Do they do the 3 freshmen that they brought in, Ray Curry, Marcus Henderson, and Jalen St. John? Do they get a chance? I think they get an opportunity to come in at the tackle or guard spots. I could see Henderson and St. John battling for one of the guard spots. I can see Henderson and Curry battling for either the tackle spots. But what I do know is, adding these 3 guys to your roster, when the guys at the offensive line, the older guys, see these 3 walk in the room, you already instantly know that Sam Pittman and the way he's going to recruit It's going to be at a different level. I mean, these guys are going to come in mostly at 285, 290, 300 pounds, and that's just not what Arkansas has been able to recruit over the last few years. I mean, look at Ricky Stromberg, Demetrius. He goes from 270 to now under Sam Pittman in that program under Coach Walker. He's a 300-pound guy. Same thing with Cunningham. He goes from 287 to 319.
But Pat, those stats are exactly why I say those guys have to fit that scheme. Because if you look at the type of scheme that Sam Pittman versus Chad Morris was trying to run, he was trying to run an up-tempo running gun, a fast up-tempo, really no huddle. That was the objective, was to go no huddle. We didn't progress to that level, but again, it was just a fast-paced, high mobility offensive line. But I think, again, now when you're going to get more into that smash mouth, physical, running to the strong side, a lot of pulling, and you're gonna get back to that more traditional style football, just with the spread look. I think Sam Pittman is gonna update it as far as the looks that we're getting, but I think when you talk about the actual technique that he's gonna be teaching his linemen, he's gonna stick to the traditional fundamental techniques that's been proven in the SEC.
And I'm of the belief, I think Raheem goes over 1,000. I think he hits around that 1,300. But I think Arkansas is gonna have 2 or 3. I'd say about 2 or other running backs that may hit that 600 to 700, 800-yard mark. I think they're going to be, like I said, like you said, Demetrius, stretch the field. And with the offensive mind as eloquent, I should say, as Kendall Briles, a guy that can really go out. I mean, I was a big proponent, and I really like what Bobby Petrino, former head coach here, had brought to the table. But I think when you look at Briles, he has just a little bit more spice to the offense, and I think this is going to be something that the receivers, if you're a receiver in this offense, Demetrius, you have to be really hitting your playbook, because, I mean, Traylon Burks, Trey Knox, Coylan, Tyson, Mike, Darian. Need we say more? I mean, it's going to be a really competitive wide receiver room, not just this year, but years going forward. I mean, this has a chance offensively. These guys have a chance to put up a lot of numbers and impress scouts for years to come at that spot.
I really, when I look at the skill positions that are on this team, this is probably the closest team that I saw to that. Jarius Wright.
Right. I'll agree.
Greg Childs.
I'll agree with that.
Who else was on that? Kobe Hamilton.
I'll agree with that.
Who else was on that team?
They had Greg.
Greg.
I'll agree with. I could go with that.
This is the closest mode that we've had.
Wingo.
See, we had 3 running backs.
And then you had Mallet was your QB.
You got Mallet. So I think the star power that we had.
3 or 4 of those guys on that line went on to play in the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, and then you think about the entire wide receiver core was in the NFL at one point in time. And maybe not for the longevity that we thought or envisioned for those guys, but all those wide receivers that we had during Petrino were in the league at one point in time. So again, I think this is the closest replica that we've had of that type of offensive potential and star power. And I think Kendall Briles, being the type of offensive mind, the eloquent guy that he is, I think he's going to really put up some numbers.
Ty Clary keep his center spot, the senior. You think Ty Clary keeps his spot?
Yeah, but again, I think everything's open for it. It's free game.
I agree with you. I really think that we come in with a couple of starters on that line, but I think if you really pin me down, I think there's only 2 that you would have to say, and possibly 1. Ricky Stromberg could be the only penciled-in starter, because he has a lot of game experience. Myron Cunningham did play a lot of football. I think he has some room to grow, but I think I feel real confident under Brad Davis and Coach Pittman that'll get done. As will all the linemen. I think Ryan Winkle's another guy out of the Memphis area that has dealt with some. Noah Gatling is a young man that I felt really good about his freshman year and coming into last year. Noah's had to fight through some injuries. If he can get that right, just the depth on the offensive line, that's where I think Arkansas, and the defensive lines, I mean, that's going to be a real big spot of emphasis in my estimation for how good this football team will be. I think the big key cog in all of that's going to be how this defensive line, such as John Marshall, Xavier Kelly, Bubba Miller,
I'm not worried about that. I think that's going to be probably one of the highest production.
Right. Yeah, I think this team goes as the offensive and defensive lines go.
I can see that
this season. I mean, I really think that. And I think defensively, Demetrius, I think they're going to be better in the secondary than they have been.
They are.
Long time.
And that's what I was about to go hit on right there. I'm not so much worried about the the defensive line, because I think when we look at the bodies that were left here from last year's team and the additions of guys like Xavier Kelly and guys like that, some of these freshman guys,
right there, boy.
I just feel like if we can just get that back end solid, they don't have to be perfect. I think you need to make a couple of changes as far as guys like Buster Brown. You know, like you said, you made the suggestion moving to safety,
but.
And you know, I see Fouché moving down, playing closer to the line. So, you know, again,
I'm
I
still
think
a Miles Mason guy. I think Jalen Catalon. I think
exactly. So I think
exposure. And the Jacobs kid from Arkansas State. Jerry
Jacobs,
Jacobs,
I've heard good things about him.
Big time.
So
I think
you know,
these grad transfers are gonna make a major impact here in Fayetteville this year as well.
And I just say if those guys can hold the weight on the back end,
right,
and not just give up big plays like because to me that's what was killing us last year. The defensive line would do their thing, but it was just the back end was out of sync, and we would just get caught slipping.
Though, Demetrius, on defense is linebacker play.
I'm not really so much worried about linebacker.
I think they have to have a stud middle linebacker guy.
I think when you look at Draper, man, I think he has something to prove.
Yep.
I think when you got
Andrew
a guy,
Parker's another guy. I think they've been. I don't know why we hadn't seen number 28. He could be a guy that could step up.
And I think he
Eric
is going to be
Thomas
a
is
guy.
another guy, true freshman that can step up.
And I look at Dede. You know, Dede was a guy that they had playing.
Right.
I want to say DB, but they moved him over to like a weak side or strong side.
Right.
But I even see guys like that really stepping up. Being the junior senior year, those guys they understand that their clock is ticking and don't really have as much time as they thought to make that resume for the NFL.
I'm real excited to see how they use Soley this year.
Oh, woo, we forgot about Soley.
Really excited how they're going to use Mateo.
Soley's going to be a beast.
I think if you put his hand down, stand him up, and move him around on the front, you create a lot of matchup issues because Soley, to me, is the guy. He's going to be eventually the face of the defense. I really believe that, and I just think number 11 is going to have a fantastic year. Honestly, I'm really excited to see what Barry and those guys do with him. How many sacks do you think he gets? I think Soley gets 9.5, 10 sacks this season.
I give him 3. I give him 3 to 4 because I think it's going to be so many guys that really contribute to that defense that there's not going to be one guy that they say, hey, you got to stop him. I think there's going to be so many studs and guys trying to prove that they belong in the NFL. You have a lot of transfer guys trying to come in. You have a lot of junior guys that really, see themselves leaving their junior year to go to the NFL. So again, I think it's going to be a committee really contributing, but Soley's gonna be something special. He reminds me of a Randy.
Raven Caldwell is what he reminds me of. Caldwell.
He reminds me of Randy Ramsey.
Ramsey comes to mind.
I just get like that Randy, but I feel like he can be a better stand-up than Randy. Randy was.
And you know what else to be? He gets to play with both hands this year. He's not playing an entire season basically one-handed. I mean, he gets to use both of his. All 10 of these.
Speaking of that, I got to bring my guy Randy Ramsey on. We got to catch up with Randy.
Some things. So we're gonna take a quick break and let you hear a little bit of what Buster and Raheem had to say, and then we'll be back with much more. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
I think you're muted, Bob.
Okay, how about there?
There you go.
Well, I'm a technical wizard. Hey, Sam, I know you haven't gotten to see Raheem in practice yet, running in like a real practice, but I'm sure you watched a lot of film on him. You've got to be around now for a while. Kind of what's your take on how he's getting ready for this year, how determined he is? Because he's had great individual stats, but the team hadn't won. I know that's a big thing, for him.
You'll have to ask him that same question because he'll know the answer better than I do. But I do know this, that we're really happy he came back. He has great leadership skills. He's motivated, and I love him. I'm very, very excited to see him perform this year, and I'm very happy he's Arkansas Razorback. And he's working extremely hard, and obviously he knows what this senior season holds for him and for the football team. And the better he is, the better our football team's going to be as well, and the people around him. So I've been really, really excited about him, and I think he's going to have a heck of a football season.
And he obviously was very productive but I know a while back you talked about talking to him about how he can get better, how he can raise his draft stock, obviously how he can help you guys win more games. Where do you think he can be better specifically? Well, what can he do better? What can you guys help him do better?
Welcome back to our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio here on KDSJ 479. And I'm telling you, Nick Lee, great question. Now, Nick always shoots it real, and we really appreciate all your support. He doesn't miss a show. But like this question, and Nick says, is Spivey the number 2 back? My opinion, no. I'm going to be out there and say no. I think it's going to be 4 running backs. I think you'll see Raheem get a bulk of the carries, but I think a lot of guys are going to eat. I think Traylon Smith. I think you'll see Amonte Spivey. I think you're going to see T.J. Hammonds. I think you'll see Amonte used in different ways because I think all these backs are going to be catching the ball out of the backfield and just adding a little bit more versatility because that's really, Demetrius, when you look at it, that's what the NBA guys are looking for now. Not so much straight ahead speed, but can these guys block and can they catch the ball out of the backfield and create yak? I think that's what makes the running backs, and Christian McCaffrey comes to mind, the guy, the money maker for the Panthers, so versatile. So I think but no. Amonte will not be the number 2, and that's no disrespect to his talent level by any means. But I think
you're definitely a
Traylon Smith.
You're definitely a big advocate for Spivey, so I definitely can speak on that. He I would say Pat is a Spivey fan. He's really one that put me on Spivey. But to me, Spivey's year is next year. I think when you really look at what they have available and what's on the roster and what they're trying to do. Immediately, I just think Spivey's going to be the next guy. It's kind of his team next year when you look at the backfield. I think this year, Raheem is going to get, of course, the bulk of the carries, and I think T.J. Hammonds. I think they put him on scholarship for a reason.
Right.
I think when you look at what he has to offer, he's probably the fastest guy out of that running back position when you're talking straight line speed. And I think Sam Pittman really understands that in the running back position.
See, and Nick also says he think Hammonds and Spivey should be get a lot of touches. And I agree with that. I think, like I said, if you go back and we played multiple times with Coach Jimmy Smith, the running back coach, he's of the belief by committee. He wants all of his running backs to support one another. Hey, it may be a simple fact on a Saturday where Amonte Spivey goes for 100 yards, 120 yards, and Raheem Boyd goes for 60 yards.
And truly, I think it's all about what they do with their carries. I think when you look at the type of guy that Coach Johnson is,
the hot back is really what I think it'll be. The hot back.
And to me, I'm a former running back / slot, so I think he's gonna have a system where he says, "Okay, guys, Raheem, we're gonna try to get you 15 to 20 carries. Hey, Spivey, we're gonna try to get you 1 to 5." Yeah. And they're going to have a system to say, hey, but it's up to each individual guy, like you say. If you're hot, you hot.
Yeah.
If you're in the game doing what you're supposed to do, you're going to get
practice. I think if you can't be a complete running back, and what I mean by that is being able to block, catch out of the backfield, run the ball tough, and secure the football, I think it's going to be hard for you to play. I really do. I think you have to be able to do all 4 of those at a very high level in this program, and to run the football for Sam Pittman, Kendall Browse, and Jimmy Smith, you're going to have to be really excellent at those 4. I really believe that. I think that's been a problem with, the pass protection over the last few years. Running backs just aren't stepping up, Demetrius, and chipping and getting that chin that you have to have. And I think
just
it's a different game now.
And just in defense for our running backs, we didn't have the line to even give them time to even see what was coming at them. So what I will say is I won't necessarily blame the pass protection due to the running backs, but I'll just say offensive line and running back committee. I think you're going to see a better job for the running backs at pass protection due to the level of teaching on the offensive line. Because
Nick made another question. Nick said about the fullback, Sam.
I don't think they're going to run a fullback.
I think the fullback now in college football has become the H-back.
I think that's obsolete. I think your fullback is really your tight end.
Yeah, I think that's what they are.
Maybe if you have a hybrid, running back that's 230, a big bruiser guy.
Right.
But I think the new H-back or the new fullback is your tight end.
Yeah.
He has to be a guy that's versatile, that can block, go out and catch. I look at Ebron. that's a guy that I really just
yeah.
look at as like the and I even say Hunter Henry. You know,
Hunter could have done that.
Hunter was that type of
and
guy.
been real successful doing
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely, catching out of the backfield and everything. So
I could see his brother being a little bit of that H-back, Hudson.
we forgot about him. We haven't really.
Hey, we're gonna take a break and then we're gonna talk a little bit more before we close this thing out. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a minute.
I think that's the biggest concern is the what ifs. You know, what if this happens? What if you get, pushed back 2 weeks? What if you all those type things and that's always a constant communication between myself, Coach Walker, and our 3 coordinators. You know, we're talking about that all the time. We just had a meeting yesterday about our plan, and then, okay, let's say that they give us another week. Are we comfortable with exactly what we're doing now, or do we need to change it up for the kids? We're not in the time-consuming business. We're in the winning business. And so we're not trying to have our kids here for because the NCAA says you can have them here. If we're going to have them here and have them in meetings, we need to be diversified enough in our meetings that we're keeping their attention, that we can go win football games.
That's it. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, let's start working our way back around the room here. We've probably got 8-10 minutes left with Coach here before we get to Rakeem and Monteric. Trey Biddy, you got anything?
Yeah, Coach, I got a couple of questions. I was wondering about your offensive line last year. It was pretty light overall, and I know a lot of guys have made some gains. Has there been, what are we looking at right now for some of the key players in terms of, getting up to that 300 plus range?
Well, we're big right now, Trey. You won't believe it, but we got a pretty good side.
Welcome back to On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio on KDSJ 479. It's our Wednesday edition of OTH, and it's been a really good edition. We're going to close out today's segment. Thanks for all the questions that you've sent in, Nate or Nick, Terry. All good questions. You guys make this show what it is, and we really, really, really appreciate all the calls. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We want to hear your voice now. Now, see how you talk. Now I want to hear how you talk. We'd like to interact with all of our viewers and listeners. But tomorrow, make a note, we'll have a 30-minute show. We will be here. We're going to be here for 30 minutes because we've got to get on the road. Family members need to see us on Fridays, and we need to make our way out as Demetrius and I will be away, and we'll be back on Monday in our full slotted time for 1 hour, but tomorrow we will not have a show on Friday. There will be no show. We'll play some of our best ofs, maybe some recruiting. Maybe we may take you back to last year's SEC Media Day sit down we had with a couple of really important people. Won't tell you who they were, but you have to tune in to see who they were. But yeah, we're going to give you all that stuff coming up leading into football season. Now, I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. This would not be possible without you guys. First and foremost, Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, it's located just below Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and the one that we always talk about because they're just so dadgum good, KDK's Chicken. They're located at 989 South Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith and Kathy. Get some of that love. Like they say on the building, it's not your mama's. The best chicken and waffles in the South. I said it. Meet us there or beat us there. That's KDK's Chicken. For my producer, Demetrius, and myself, to you all, we'll be back tomorrow. It's been our Wednesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and let's get it.